When you look at this sign, you probably see old rusty metal, something that's been hanging outside a bar for decades. But here's the twist: it's not metal at all. It started as a plain piece of wood from my shop. In this project, I'm going to take you step by step through the process of transforming ordinary wood into something that looks perfectly aged, corroded, and weathered by time. From the texture to the layers of paint to the final rusty finish, every detail is designed to fool the eye. So stick around, because by the end, you'll know exactly how to create your own vintage, rusty sign out of nothing more than wood.
Here's the board I started with. Nothing fancy, just a plain piece of half-inch plywood cut down to the dimensions that I needed. The first thing that I'll do is hit the edge with some 40 grit sandpaper to knock off any potential splinters from getting in my hands. Next comes the paint. When this is finished, it'll have about 9 or 10 layers altogether. You'll see as we move along. I'm starting with a dark base coat around the edges. First black, then I'll add a variety of different browns. These first few layers will act as the shadow underneath the rust. Rust is never just one color. It has deep reds, burnt oranges, mustard yellows, and even hints of gray or black. I'm using the tip of a chip brush to dab on multiple layers, letting them overlap in random patterns. This layering is what makes the finish so convincing. The colors blend together in a natural, weathered way. The center area gets a base coat of gray, and then I'm adding white on top of that. I'm purposely not trying to cover the gray completely. At this point, I'm going to do an initial sanding with a high grit paper all over the piece. I don't want a shiny bright white sign, so by doing this now, it'll allow the colors to start to blend and give more of a dull look. This also gives the effect that the white paint has faded or peeled away, allowing the metal to show through.
Quick question for you. Have you ever tried a faux finish like this before? Maybe rust, patina, or even a distressed wood look? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to hear what techniques you've experimented with. And if this is your first time seeing wood turned into rusty metal, stick with me. The next step is where the real transformation happens.
I designed the layout on the computer and printed it out using blockposter.com. Once the sheets of paper are all taped together, I'm using transfer paper to mark the image onto the board. This technique allows you to design the sign exactly how you want it to look. You could also freehand it, use a store-bought stencil, or cut one out on a Cricut. Old signs fade, chip, and wear down over time. As I apply the black paint for the lettering, I don't put a lot on my brush. I'll start the brush on random sections of the letters and just lightly move it. Whatever paint sticks is what gets applied. I don't want it to look new, so I'm not going to take the time to fill the letters in completely. The goal is to make it seem like this sign has been out in the weather for decades, so I'll dry brush a little of the rust colors back on top to give it that aged look. For the larger orange spots, I thin down the paint and let it drip off the brush and allow it to puddle up. Then I slightly prop the board up at an angle and let the paint run down slowly, giving that surface rust effect. For the final touches, I'm adding a distressed black frame made from a ripped down 2x4. This adds depth to the sign and makes the rust effect look even more three-dimensional. Last but not least, I'll seal it all with a matte clear coat. This step protects the finish, but keeps it from looking shiny. Shiny metal looks new, but remember, we want that dull, aged, weather-beaten look. And here it is, the final piece. From plain wood to something that looks like a genuine, rusty metal sign. If you didn't know better, you'd swear this has been hanging in an old country western bar for years.
If you give this technique a try, drop a comment and let me know how your version turns out. And if you enjoyed this project, hit that like button and subscribe. I've got plenty more woodworking illusions and DIY finishes coming your way.